So as our little raft makes its way to the finish line, we can reflect with joy about this gift, this wonderful river of life. Amen.
Hey! We like short prayers. Man, this is just like church. We sing songs, we pray, then we make visitors feel very uncomfortable. Today I'm going to introduce our visitors that we have with us with our Rotarians. If you would stand when I read your name and hold all your applause till the end. Today Bob McKenzie has got his wife Darlene McKenzie. Matt Davis is bringing Kevin Hearn, a candidate for U.S. Congress, which at one point I was as well. Carrigae Neal has got Donna Leduc. Philip Viles has got his son Peter Viles. Carl Vincent has his guest Bree Segova with Ruffin Companies. Monica Martin has got 3 guests, Lacey Taylor, Nicole Bowman, and Aaron Smoot, all with Resolute PR. John Howman has got Chris Genetic. Tina Miller has got 2 guests, Jeremy Bautiste and Sherry Sherwood from Fine Airport Parking. And we also have another candidate for Congress, Tim Gilpin, with Emma Gilpin and Andrea Waldron. And our guest Rotarians from the Bristow Club, Mickey Moore. From Tulsa Sunrise, Randy Kaufman. And from Rotaract, we have Jonathan Slay. Jonathan, you're going to have to help me out. Wink Kapitsky. I practiced that twice before we came. Welcome, guys.
Once again, welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, where Tulsa's finest business and community leaders come together to serve and be the inspiration, both in our own community and all around the world. Let's thank our meeting volunteers whose service makes our meetings run so well each week. Thanks also to this week's meeting sponsors, Tulsa Wealth Advisors, Dave Moore, James Potts and Wolfers, David Wolfers. We encourage you to give your fellow Rotarians the business, literally. Now for our announcements. It's time to act on the amended and restated bylaws of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Copies were emailed to you on July the 12th, and there's a copy of the red line version on each table for consideration. I declare that a quorum of the membership is present, and I hereby request a motion and a second to adopt the amended and restated bylaws. Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a voice vote. All those in favor of the club adopting the amended and restated bylaws as disseminated, please say aye. Aye. All those in opposition, please say no. The ayes have it by a 2/3 majority. The amended and restated bylaws are thus adopted. Thank you. Adopt a Class needs your help to provide teachers with gift cards to purchase supplies. If you'd like to make a donation, please contact Tommy Lynn in the Rotary office. At this time, we'll have our new member introductions. Stephanie Cameron will introduce Daniel Regan. Jake Dollarhide will introduce Tana Scott.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our newest Rotarian, Daniel Regan. Daniel Regan is a 4th-generation Tulsan who has spent the past 20 years working with entrepreneurial businesses and giving back to his community through nonprofit and civic leadership roles. He currently serves on the boards for the Foundation for Tulsa Public Schools, Oklahoma Academy, and Tulsa's Great Raft Race. He has previously served on Tulsa Regional Chamber's Executive Committee, as 2016 Type Rose Chairman, as President of TARC, on the Downtown Coordinating Council, as well as in many other community organizations. Daniel is a current, very strong candidate for Tulsa City Council District 4 and serves as the Executive Vice President for Price Family Properties. I will now present him with his four-way test and his pen. Please help me welcome Daniel Regan.
I'd like to introduce Tana Scott. Tana's Director of Sales and Marketing for JetLinks in Tulsa. Incidentally, in a recent conversation, I was trying to find out what the difference between JetLinks and the much advertised NetJets is, and she said without hesitation, we actually use jets and only jets. And so everyone, if you need private aviation needs, we actually have a member of Rotary now, Tulsa International. I got to know Tana real well the last several years through the YMCA of Greater Tulsa. She was our all-star downtown director. She is a graduate of the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. So is it? For her master's degree. Tana, her husband Bobby, their three daughters Addison, Brooklyn, and Willa, ages 8, 5, and 4, reside in Jinx, in which she's not spending time with family or helping people fly around the country. She enjoys teaching group fitness. And Tana, here's your pen.
Thank you.
Your four-way test.
Thank you.
Welcome to Rotary.
Fellow Rotarians, if you'd please stand and give a rousing Rotary Club of Tulsa welcome to our two new members, Daniel and Tana. Just a couple of side mic announcements. Wine and chocolate, the announcement from Jonathan Slay and John DeBar.
My fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure for President Hannibal to have asked me to serve this year as the Rotary Club of Tulsa liaison to Rotarac, and I'm getting going with that. What I want to make sure all of you appreciate is that, like in baseball, we have a farm team, and our farm team is Rotarac. All of these young people are potential members, participants, and leaders in the Rotary Club of Tulsa. And we are the sponsor of that Rotarac group. So all of us need to be doing our part with all the other seeds that we plant, water, and tend to in Rotary to make sure our Rotarac group is participating with us the way we intended. I'd like for President Jonathan Slay to make an announcement to you now about wine, cheese, and chocolate, which is very important to them. Jonathan?
Thank you, John. Very grateful to have John working with us this year. It's going to be a great year. We do have a great farm team that we're working on this year, where some of us are driving the tractor and others are sweeping the field, I guess. So there's wine, cheese, and chocolate is our signature event. Rotarac's done it. This will be the 6th year in a row. The date is October 25th. You have information on your table about that in front of you. We're really excited to partner again with Mainsprings. It's an orphanage in Tanzania, but it's based here in Tulsa. We'll also be distributing some of the proceeds to Rebuilding Together Tulsa, which is now actually called Revitalizing T-Town. That kickoff for that new branding is in 2 weeks. So we'll be there at that ribbon cutting. And then we have our own charities, which are Rotaract Kicks, to provide athletic shoes to kids in high school. And we also provide scholarships for kids that want to go to college to give them that opportunity. So we have been busily planning this whole event. We've got a wonderful opportunity to be at this event. It's the same place as last year, the Living Arts Center. We encourage Rotarians to come. It's going to be a great time for friends and family and potentially your clients to gather. We hope you'll come and also sponsor. We have actually quite a few sponsorships have already come in. We're always looking for those $250 and $500 sponsorships if you feel like you'd like to have your company featured, especially on our marketing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Jonathan and John. Please welcome Rotarian Randy Kaufman from the Sunrise Rotary Club. He's a past president, Paul Harris Fellow. He's going to talk about the Maine Lobster Fest and charity auction.
Thank you very much. It's great being with the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Thank you so much for allowing us to come today. I'm here to invite all of you to our 7th annual Maine Lobster Fest and charity auction. It's going to be Saturday, August 25th at Southern Hills Marriott, a month away. Our main beneficiary is Autism Tulsa. Since we've started Lobster Fest, we have raised money and done things for families in the Tulsa area who have children that have been diagnosed as being somewhere on the autism spectrum. And we're very proud and happy to do that. Nationally, 1 out of 59 children are being diagnosed somewhere on that spectrum, and it's no different here in Tulsa. And we would like for each one of you to think about coming. We have tickets still available, tables for anybody who would be interested in doing that. We have a great Maine lobster dinner that's we fly in fresh the day before. It's prepared by the staff at the Marriott. It's a wonderful evening, silent auction, live auction. We have a great raffle prize this year, a vacation package to one of 7 destinations. So come and eat lobster. If you're tired of eating lobster, you eat it too much, you can get a steak. So anyway, thank you for allowing us to announce that today, and we look forward to seeing all of you at Lobster Fest.
Thank you. It's Sarge time. Please help me welcome our Sarge, Daniel Gomez.
Thanks, Hannibal. We got a big speaker today. I'm pretty excited about it, so I'm going to try and get through some of these. First of all, I have to wear a suit a lot walking downtown. It's not real comfortable, especially when it's in the hundreds. So I got some advice this week from the New Yorker. How do you deal with the heat? Well, wear light clothing, drink plenty of liquids, and avoid strenuous activities. So I think I might take this advice later on when it gets hotter. Fair warning also, 90% of my sense of humor comes from the New Yorker and NPR. So if anybody has heard any of my jokes before I say it, I appreciate the laughter. Thank you. All right, I have finds this week. It's been a good week so far. First of all, Stephanie Cameron, she's donating $50 to promote the Stacked Deck event. I have the date up there. It's hard to see. October 5th. Call Resonance office. The number's up there, but if you go to resonancetulsa.org, you can find it. This was in the Tulsa World this week, so just wanted to recognize a Rotarian doing good work in the community and support the event. Thanks, Stephanie. We had an anonymous $100 today in support of and to encourage donations to Terry Heritage's Adopt a Class campaign. It was announced today. Call the Rotary office. This $100 is a kickstart. Call the office. Let's support that. I don't know if anybody uses Facebook, but Luann is a friend of mine on Facebook, and she is starting for her birthday. It's not until early August, I think, but she's starting early. She is starting a Facebook campaign and she's matching some donations. She's going to donate it to the Rotary Club Foundation. And if you're friends with her on Facebook, there's no amount on there because she's going to end up paying a lot of money. That's why it's raining money right there. It's going to be a lot. But if you guys support it, she'll end up paying a lot of money for her own birthday. I don't know how that works, but thanks, Luann. And happy birthday. So Stephanie donated $50, and about 5 minutes later, I got another $50 to mention it twice, and I'm glad I did, because you can actually read it this time. October 5th, 2018, the Bond Center, phone number, email, resonancetulsa.org. Let's support this great cause. I think this is one of the best organizations in town, so let's give it some support. So this is where I do my own shameless self-promotion. I'm encouraging people to do that, but I said that the first week. I want you guys to know me a little bit better. So I'm paying $50 on my own to show off my kids here. On the left, that's my son Adrian. He's 7 months old. He had a little rough time coming into this world, but he's happy, he's healthy. And then on the far right, that's my daughter, Lyndon. She's 6. She is going to be a first grader next year at what I understand is now Council Oak Elementary. So that's her. And right in the middle, that's me and my wife, Stephanie. You can tell we're on vacation and that we left the kids behind because we're both smiling and not dozing off for the picture. This is in Colorado, and we do leave the kids with my parents sometime. So I'm encouraging people to do this. I'm going to do this a few more times, but if you just want to show off your kids, let's do it. Let's raise some money. This is a big one. Joe Moran, $250 for his birthday. His birthday is July 28th. He says, I'll get my kicks when I turn 66. And this is what he sent me. I didn't do this. This is what he sent me.
It's your 66th birthday! Happy birthday!
This is on YouTube.
It's your 66th birthday! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Joe. Thank you. That was supposed to be where I ended, but just this morning we had a new anonymous donation. All right, so this is what it was. It says, to President Hannibal, Captain Hannibal B. Johnson, an anonymous person has agreed to pay your $55 participation fee for you to be our fearless team captain in the Tulsa Great Raft Race for 2018.
That's great.
You get to choose the name, you get to choose our division, you get to, if you want to build the raft yourself, are you a handyman? I'm happy to help there. I have tools.
I'll need your help for sure.
Okay, well then, $55 donation. I'll do some manpower. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Captain.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Daniel. I look forward to crafting that raft and captaining as well. Our vocational minute today is from Katie Upshaw Johnson. Katie.
I'm Katie. My maiden name is Upshaw. My married name is Johnson. I'm the founder of Upshaw Johnson Company, offering risk management insurance services. Companies believe in the upside of risk or they wouldn't be in business. But most of the time when we hear the term risk, we think of the negative and the downside. But the risk management process is the same. For the upside, the downside, business continuity, finance, HR, all of it, the process is the same. And most companies have some form of risk management in place. So when I do the process training services, start with what they have, build on what they've got, and it simplifies things tremendously. Risk transfer is one form of protecting against the downside. Insurance is one form of risk transfer. I also offer targeted expertise for commercial property and casualty insurance, which is very important in today's big data era, when insurance companies are doubling down in their focus on the terms and conditions of the contract of insurance. So the policy and understanding the policy is very important these days. I connect the dots between what my clients have in place, what they need from their risk management insurance programs for their business, and what the industry has to offer.
Thank you, Katie. And now it's time to meet our Rotarian of the Day. Stephanie Cameron earned a degree in International Affairs from the University of Georgia. She is Community Relations Administrator for Aon, Inc., and State Director of OK to Grow and Dream It, Do It, Oklahoma. Stephanie previously served as Community Affairs Director at APSCO, Corporate Marketing Director for the American Heart Association, and as a staffing industry recruiter. Stephanie is a community dynamo. In addition to her Rotary Club of Tulsa service, she's active with the Tulsa Global Alliance, the Union Schools Education Foundation, TIPROS, the Oklahoma Academy, Leadership Oklahoma, the Tulsa Regional Chamber, the TCC Signature Symphony, the Girl Scouts of Eastern Oklahoma, the Manufacturing Institute, the Hispanic American Foundation, the Center for Legislative Excellence, the State Chamber of Oklahoma, the Tulsa Area Manufacturers Association, and Tulsa Regional STEM Alliance. Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot. Stephanie was named one of the YWCA's 2017 Women of the Year, the Journal Record's 2017 Women of the Year, Oklahoma Magazine's 2017 40 Under 40, Journal Record's 2016 Women of the Year, Tulsa World's People to Watch 2016, 2016 Journal Record Achiever Under 40, 2015 National Women in Manufacturing Step Ahead Award winner, 2015 Woman of Distinction, Tulsa Business and Legal News, 2014 40 Under 40. She's received awards for outstanding achievement in fundraising and is a member of Leadership Oklahoma Class 29 and Leadership Tulsa Class 50. Please help me welcome our own Stephanie Cameron.
Thank you for that introduction, Hannibal. And I think I learn new things every Rotary meeting. I didn't know Joe Moran was a cat video guy. I like it. All right. And it's my pleasure to introduce Seth Erkenbeck. Seth is originally from Ponca City, Oklahoma, and settled in Tulsa. We're glad he did. After graduating from OSU in 2007, with a business degree majoring in finance. Seth is a graduate of Leadership Tulsa Class 50, as you heard, best class ever, past board member of the Forge, the Center for Individuals with Physical Challenges, and River Parks. Most of his volunteer and community involvement has been associated with Tulsa's Young Professionals as the business development crew leader in 2013 and the current president of the Type Rose Foundation. Seth's love of the outdoors and interest in developing Tulsa's green spaces in a thoughtful way led him and a small group of dedicated Type Rose volunteers to revive the Great Raft Race in 2015 after a nearly 25-year hiatus. Seth was a financial planner for 8 years before restarting the event in 2015. If not for Seth Erkenbeck, there would not be a Great Raft Race currently. Please help me welcome Seth.
Hello. Thank you, Stephanie, for that warm welcome and the invite to speak. I was wondering if I could borrow some of your accomplishments or credentials. My bio needed to be a little bit longer, I think. But thank you guys, the Rotary Club, for having me. I know you guys have been around for over 100 years in Tulsa, giving back service to the community, and we're so thankful for that. Okay, the raft race. We can start. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, Tulsa's Great Raft Race. So, I was going to show a video, but we didn't get it loaded up correctly. But is there a show of hands who doesn't know what the raft race is? Uno. Hey, that's great. One person. You'll see some photos here shortly, and you'll get the idea. The raft race was originally started by KRMG Radio. So we'll go through the history first and foremost. And that was in 1973. So the reason that KRMG, you guys are familiar, KRMG is a talk radio station now. A little before my time, supposedly they were a very, kind of a very hip, quirky radio station that had a huge following, and they did a lot of promotions around town. So in the early 70s, they started thinking, how can we highlight the recreational possibilities of the Arkansas River? And I really see the early 70s, from my view, is really kind of the first wave of development and, more importantly, preservation of the Arkansas River corridor. So River Parks, the amazing organization in Tulsa that has preserved so much of the land alongside the river, created our trail systems, and now has been gifted, obviously, the gathering place. River Parks was started in that same year. So the early 70s, Tulsa as a community really started to think about what we had as our biggest and best natural resource and what the possibilities could be. So, I wish I could have been a fly in the room on the brainstorming session that came up with the raft race. But somehow they came up with, hey, let's create a a race from Sand Springs to Tulsa, and let's just let all these crazy guys and companies build almost like parade-like floats that are really floating pieces, works of art, and let them race down the Arkansas River. So the initial event was in 1973, and they had no idea how it was going to go over. Again, it sounds kind of like this crazy, quirky idea, and very soon they realized what they had on their hands. So the first year was wildly successful, and it only grew from there. So in the race's heyday, it ran until 1991, but in the late 70s and mid 80s, I'm not sure the exact year, but the peak numbers I've gotten from old Tulsa World articles and things like that. I forgot to start my timer because I need to do that because I historically sometimes talk long. So the peak of the event, when I found these numbers out, I was really just shell-shocked of the attendance and support from the community. So in its heyday, the peak of the event, they had 600 rafts floating down the Arkansas River, and some of these rafts are just so huge, which you'll see in these pictures. 600 rafts, 4,500 participants on those rafts throughout the day, and spectators of 150,000 people. So, I say that now, 5 years later, and I still think about how many people that is. If you think about how many people fit into OU's football stadium or OSU's football stadium, we're talking 2 to 3 times that amount of people lining the banks of the Arkansas River from Sand Springs to Tulsa. It actually broke the state attendance record for the largest single-day event in state history. I have no idea if that record still stands. But 150,000 people for a single-day event is just, again, it still blows my mind. I've heard so many stories about the old days of the raft race. I'm not from Tulsa. I'm from Ponca City. I had no idea what the raft race was until probably 2012. But I've talked to so many people, and they've said, hey, I built a raft with my dad and my uncle and all my cousins, and it was really the highlight of our summer. Peter Viles and Phil Viles over there, I used to work with Peter 10 years ago, and they just said that they had some old photos of when they built a raft as kids. So I've heard countless stories like that, and I'll share 2 that have always resonated with me. The first one, I can't speak to how true the first story is, so maybe some of the older guys in the room could validate this or not. But the raft race used to have political categories. So area mayors, city councilors, Tulsa, Owasso, Broken Arrow, they would compete in a political category. Well, George Nye was the governor at the time, and he competed a handful of years in a row, at least 3 or 4 years in a row, then off and on. Well, one of the years that he competed, he was running late, as politicians maybe often do. I know election season, they were all here punctually today, though, so that's good. But he was running late, so the raft was queued to go, and they couldn't wait on him. So they launched the raft, and the story that I've heard is that he was coming over on a helicopter, and in the river, and this person swears this story is true, they docked the raft in a shallow area of the river, and the governor climbed down a rope ladder to his raft. So if anyone can say that that's true, I really don't know, but it's been a fun story that I've heard. Another second fun story, Darton Zink, who runs Zico, his dad, who started Zico, was a really big proponent of the raft race. And Zico has been a great partner and sponsor of the revival of the event. But Darton shared with me that his dad was a very adventuresome person and really just an awesome Tulsan. He actually won the Indy 500 2 different times. He was a race car guy. But he really just got gung-ho about the raft race. And there was a specific canoe-kayak category in the 70s. So Darton's dad figured out, okay, well, I'm going to win this race. Well, the rules were it had to be assembled by hand. It had to be homemade. So he called all the best canoe and kayak makers around the nation, and he found a company in the state of Washington. And the guy was telling him how great it was going to be, and he was going to win the race. And so he was about to buy it, and he said, well, you're going to have your CEO call me back because I need to talk to him before I make this purchase. So the CEO called him back and he said, I have to be assured that this is actually hand-assembled and homemade so it fits within this category. And he told him it was. I don't know how the parts were milled or whatever, but it was hand-assembled. Darton bought the canoe, kayak, and he won the race like 3 years in a row or something like that. So Darton says he has that boat in storage, and we've tried to, we'd like to coordinate with him to try to go get it out and maybe do a Facebook Live or something. But that's another really cool story of the original raft race. The other thing about the raft race, there was a lot of ancillary things going on. It just wasn't the event down the river. So I actually was really surprised, but there was a rodeo in the Sand Springs Park where it started the night before. So they had a rodeo the night before, and then a lot of people remember there was a large parade in Sand Springs the night before. So all the homemade rafts would parade down Main Street in Sand Springs on the way to the river to where they'd park overnight for the early morning launch. So there was a lot going on outside of just the raft race. Okay, so we'll go through some of the funnest things about the raft race is the visuals of all these awesome old rafts. Okay, so if you look, here's a couple old newspaper articles, and if you see the top left, 150,000 line the banks to watch the raft race. So I found multiple articles quoting somewhere around that number of that huge attendance that I spoke to earlier. This guy on the right, this little quirky contraption here, I guess that's an inflatable, and he planned on walking the 8 miles down the river, and he was tied in there. So I don't know how that worked out for him. They unveiled that. I believe that's Bartlett Square in the middle of downtown, and they let him put it in a fountain or whatever was there at the time. So that's definitely fun. This old vintage pic. So this is just kind of a crazy raft. Looks like it was thrown together. It's really a sign of the times. You can see these guys' short shorts up there. Those are making a comeback, I guess. But, fun photo. The Crane Carrier Company. So I don't know what has ever come of this company, if they're still around, but they built some of the most over-the-top rafts out there. And I stole this from a Tulsa World slideshow they put together for us last year. I'm not sure if that was sponsored by Pepsi, but a big guy in his swimsuit drinking a Pepsi. So who knows how much work went into that, but a really, really cool old raft. Crane Carrier number 2, the second raft I found that they've built. This is in the 80s. It's evident by the woman. I feel like she kind of has a mullet a little bit. But, kind of the same theme, someone laying down on the raft in their swimsuit. But really a lot of work and creativity went into their rafts. Okay, the pedestrian bridge. You see the race, there's tons of people on the bridge and even on top of the bridge. We couldn't get away with that now. But you see Zinc Dam was not built at the time. So the event used to go under the pedestrian bridge before Zinc Dam was built and finish farther down the river. Obviously, Zinc Dam is directly below the pedestrian bridge, and we take out about a mile upstream from that. There's a NASA a spaceship, a cool raft. I think it says Rockwell on the fin of that, I believe. Centerline. So this is, I don't know if it's Daffy Duck. I don't know if he was just stuck on the shore there, but they're pulling on him. But that's another big creative raft. Lots of race cars. So this hot rod raft, over the top, and I'm sure that took a lot of work. Who knows how fast it really was? Was it really a hot rod? Well, the Batmobile. So this was actually, they did an unveiling in the lobby of Williams Tower, and you see Batman, the Batmobile, Wonder Woman there. but a fun raft. It looks dusty to me, but still a nice fun raft. So this is the floating stage, which is no longer. It's been taken out about 2 years ago, but I assume that is, close to probably when it was new. It looks very nice compared to the end of its life, and you see the grandstands very full, and just a lot of people out watching the event. Another just kind of rinky-dink raft. So I counted, there is 48 people on this raft. I'm like, I don't know what they use for flotation under that thing. And there's a couple guys in like jeans and long sleeve shirts. So we don't allow 48 people on a raft. So we have size requirements after the first year. The max raft size is 12 feet by 16 feet long. And back then, the river has changed so much over the last 30 or 40 years. It used to be there was a lot more smooth entry into the river in spots, especially in River City Park and Sand Springs. So they used to be able to stack up 10 or 20 rafts wide and all mass start down a very wide area beach. That's all changed, and we have a very narrow boat ramp, and it takes a lot of coordination to get really even 2 and 3 down simultaneously. So that was a challenge we really had to work out the first year or two. But yeah, that's a loaded down raft for sure. This is Grigsby's carpet. Obviously, they're still around, and there's a guy either, I don't know if he's evil Knieveling out of the carpet tube there or going down. I'm not sure what was inside there, but still a neat little raft. And then, okay, here's, you guys might recognize some of the vintage T-shirts. The Tulsa Historical Society has a couple huge boxes of just old raft race material, T-shirts, flyers, all kinds of things, and I've been able to go and look through some of that. And I think they have every year of the original event, but I think 11 is on the end, 9, 10, and then 15. But they had a lot of cool old designs originally. Okay, planning. I could talk about this for a long time, but I have about 9 minutes. So the raft race really restarted within Tulsa's young professionals. So I was an active volunteer in Typros as the business development crew leader around 2011, 2012, 2013. And as Stephanie said, I really love the outdoors, and I always thought, I had lived in Tulsa about 5 years at the time, and I had never seen more than 1 or 2 people on the river paddling or doing anything actually in the river in my 5 years in Tulsa. And I really thought, and a group of us really thought, this is such an underutilized asset. It could be a whole new playground for Tulsa to provide economic development, new green space. And little did I know they'd been trying to build low water dams for basically 50 years in Tulsa. But 2012, there was a Vision 2 vote. And within Typros, we said, hey, let's just do something no different than KRMG's original mission to highlight the recreational possibilities of the river. I didn't even know what the raft race was still at that point in time. So we thought of this idea, let's just find 30, 40, 50 canoes, kayaks, paddle boards, and let's just float. Let's create a happy hour float, and we will float from River West Festival Park, have a Typros event, float across to Blue Rose, and then, have a happy hour, 1 or 2 drinks, and then float back. So I said, hey, that's a success. If we get 50 people on the river, that's 20 times more than I've ever seen in full before. And maybe we'll get a little PR out of it before this river vote. Unfortunately, we had a lot of rain. We never even announced the event. We were gearing up to do it, and I talked to someone that was very active in the paddling community, and she basically berated me for about 10 minutes about this is not safe because of the river levels. And I said, okay, I'm going to cancel the event if you'd please just quit yelling at me and we can get off the phone. But she was right. There was too much water. we never got to announce the event, and that idea went by the wayside. So, this kind of planning is maybe on a little bit of hiatus. And there's recognized one person in the room, Brian Paschal, who was the executive director of Typros at the time, who's a lifelong Tulsan. He said, well, have you ever heard of the Raft race? And this was probably 2012. And I said, nope, never heard of it. Well, that really started down a wormhole of, I found 3 videos in the entirety of the internet of the Raft race. But I found a lot of old newspaper articles. And Brian said, why don't we just try to bring back the Raft race if you want to highlight the river? So that really, I blame him. That really, blame him, thank him. He's a great board member for the Raft race. But that really started the journey from a happy hour float to trying to revive the Raft race. I'll try to be brief on what happened over the course of like 3 years. But we really talked to everyone that we could who knew anything about the Raft race. Old guys that participated. Ken Greenwood, who was the station manager at KRMG when it started, we were lucky enough to get to talk to him in his home before he passed away and told us just so much information. And what we found out was the issue now, today, pre-2015, was water. River Parks told me they probably get a call a quarter every 3 months of, hey, let's bring back the Raft race. I want to bring back the Raft race. And it comes down to water has been turned into such more of a commodity currently than it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So then we started calling everyone at Keystone Dam, Keystone Lake, the Corps of Engineers, Southwestern Power, the Coast Guard, and had countless phone calls, emails, meetings, and learned a lot, but really made no progress over the course of about probably 2012 to late 2014. I kept bringing it up at Typros meetings, and finally someone said, man, you've been talking about this for 3 years, and there's no progress. We have to move on. And so we talked about going and doing the happy hour float again and just forgetting about the Raft race. But enter in the executive director of Typros that took over after Brian Paschal is a dear friend of mine named Shaga Zakirian. And through our research over those couple of years, we determined that Public Service Company of Oklahoma owns a percentage of water in Keystone Lake. I had tried to set a meeting with them in that 2-year window, and they did not know me from Adam. I didn't have a bio like Stephanie, so I didn't get that meeting. Well, Shaga ended up setting that meeting in 2015 with Stuart Solomon and his main team. And that was in very early June. So make sure I'm not forgetting anything here. So I was going to get into more detail on the water, but I don't think I have time. So we have the meeting with PSO. And within literally 20 minutes, they say, hey, we've done all the research with the Corps of Engineers. You can have the amount of water that they historically used for the event. It was a soft yes. They said, we have to run some internal traps, but we're 90% sure we can provide the water on Labor Day 2015. So we leave the meeting, and it's 5 years of work from a very dedicated team. And I had this feeling of excitement, but way more nervousness and anxiety, because it was like, my goodness, this is actually probably likely 99% going to happen. And I was not an event planner at the time. I was not a director of anything. I was a financial advisor. And we had 90 days to pull together a very large event from June 1st to basically the 1st of Labor Day. So PSO gets back to us literally within a week, and they said, hey, we're going to give you the 12,000 acre feet of water. You're good to go. So then really the work really started. And I really found the value of relationships and networking in that period of time. No different than what you guys are doing here, is because I called in literally every favor I had that I had built up with goodwill, I felt like, over the previous 5+ years. It was still going to be a Typros event, but then we decided that it was too big. It would be a standalone event. We started our own 501c3, but a very core group of people came together. We built a website from scratch with a registration system included in like 7 days. Daniel Blejo with DSB Creative really dropped everything to build that. Stephanie Cameron helped in the early days. Daniel Regan, who you should vote for District 4 City Council, has been basically the co-chair of the event. Brian Pascal, those guys really, just chipped in and did all the work and called in all the favors and really like kept me positive because I would be up and down of like, oh my gosh, this is too much work. And then also Lacey Taylor at the front table has been on the planning committee from the beginning, and she's been great. So build the website, strike a deal with KRMG to do a lot of promotion, and on July 17th, so literally 1 month after we got the go from PSO, we were live on KRMG radio during the morning drive, and we announced that the Raft race was back. Website was live, social media was live, and we just had an outpouring of support from the community, from really everyone. And it wouldn't have been able to come back without sponsors just jumping on board, people registering as soon as it opened, and it really, it takes a village. And everyone came together that first year to make sure the Raft race was going to come back and was very, very successful. Okay, so that was July 17th. So then still a lot of planning up until Labor Day. Fast forward to Labor Day 2015. We kick off the event. Everything goes great throughout the day. We have roughly about 900 participants on the water, about 175 rafts, and we have estimated attendance of about 15,000 people. So for an event that announced, 6 weeks prior, we were very satisfied. We had about a quarter of the participants of what the peak was in the 80s. Again, we couldn't have been happier with how the event went. We made national news on Fox News. We made the front page of yahoo.com the next day. All the major regional news sources picked it up. It was on the Dallas News, Wichita, Fayetteville. It just really had a splash, and it said, most of the headlines were, look at what these crazy Tulsans are doing on Labor Day. And they stole all of the live stream footage from Channel 6 from their helicopter, and basically that was the footage that ran nationwide and in Dallas and in some other places. We did it. It was great. It was an amazing team effort, and it says victory over here. That's how we felt in 2015. So we'll look at some photos currently, and then I will wrap up pretty quickly. So if you haven't seen the skyline from the river when there's water in the river, it is really a beautiful sight. So you actually feel like you're kind of in the wilderness as you come from Sand Springs. You don't realize you're really, just right next to Tulsa. And as you round the bend into Tulsa, this is the view you get. The first year, that's an actually real seaplane with no engine in it. But Elote Cafe wanted to paint a seaplane like a corn husk or a cob of corn and float it down the river. We made size restrictions after the first year, but it was very fun to see that floating down the river. I think this raft was titled Rednecks Going to the River or something. So this is Tulsa Kayak. They're a great local kayaking store, and they got a shell of a slug bug and threw however many kayaks on top of there and acted like they were going to the river. Well, they were going to the river. Yale Cleaners, they've been great participants. They actually built, that's a mini cruise ship. They've got a water cannon on the front, and you don't see it in this photo, but that smokestack actually blew real smoke or steam or something. But that was a really cool raft. Here's just a water cannon fight. The water guns and water cannons have really, we've seen a progression over 3 years of what types of pumps you need and what types of filter you need that goes into the water. The Flintstones. Quickie Mart, the skate shop on Peoria. So the left photo is an aerial drone photo. They built an actual half pipe and were half pipe skating as they floated down the river. I think they lost a couple skateboards along the way. Okay, KKT and Zico. They have been the perennial fastest down the river. So Zico won the actual race portion, honoring Darton's dad, I guess. The first year, KKT came in and won it the second year, and Zico won it the third year. So I think KKT is saying they're coming back and they're going to win this year. Just another great photo of the skyline and a raft. Melton Trucks, they built a floating semi. A lot of work there. It's just this old antique truck. Oh. We've had multiple blue whales, but Synergy built this thing, and this is by far the biggest, most impressive blue whale that we've seen. Tulsa Zoo, really cool elephant. And this guy, the Viking. So the craftsmanship that went into this, this guy is gung-ho. He has 2 paddles that control 14 other paddles. I don't know how fast it is. I don't remember, but the craftsmanship is definitely top-notch. Okay, so I'll wrap up. I'm a little long, but 2018 to the future, we want to continue to grow the event. We've added a STEM challenge for local schools. So 10 area schools are entered into the race, age 12 and above, and they get to, actually area architects and engineers have gone out and helped the kids build according to STEM education principles. They build prototypes beforehand, and they're really learning hands-on. We offered rentals last year. So building a raft is a lot of work. So if you don't want to do that, you can just show up, pick up an inflatable raft or a kayak, float the river, and then check it in Tulsa, and it's a lot more easy use. We revived the sandcastle contest that used to happen in the 90s. Wish I had a photo, but we flew in a professional sand sculptor. So this guy literally, his job is to fly around the world and sculpt with sand, and he has a house in Italy, so it must be working well. But he built a huge exhibition piece that's probably 8 feet high, of the Tulsa skyline, and there was a mermaid and things. So we're continuing to add new things, and we want the raft race to grow. So the last thing I'll leave you with is, I say all that. The raft race, we have continued to have more difficult times securing water for the event. PSO has been an amazing sponsor, and the raft race would have not came back with PSO's help. But it is continually tougher to secure water for the event. So if the event does not continue to grow and we have more participants, more sponsors, the price that it costs us to ensure a water release may become out of the question, and the raft race literally could become weather dependent year in and year out. If we have a lot of rain, we'll probably have a raft race. If we don't, we probably won't. So otherwise, we really still need all that community support, participants, people coming out to watch day of, company sponsors, and I hope to see all you guys on this Labor Day. Come out. We'd love to see you, and I really appreciate the time, and thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Please know that you're welcome here anytime. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton, and the book is Dinosaur Bob and His Adventures with the Family Lizardo. Upcoming programs on August the 1st, Byron Bighorse, CEO of Osage Casinos, will talk about the new Tulsa Hotel and Casino that's opening at the end of August. August the 8th, Admiral Jesse West and Commissioning Committee Co-Chair Stephen Gherkin will discuss the USS Tulsa, which is an innovative Navy combat ship set to be commissioned during the first quarter of 2019 in San Francisco. Thank you for being here, and let's not lose sight of that grand Rotary International vision that I mentioned last week. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Please note that our new members and their sponsors will be in the guest table area in the foyer as you exit. Please take a moment to personally welcome our new members, Daniel Regan and Tana Scott, to our Rotary family. We are now adjourned.